Delahunty.
Koe, Mr Chair, kia ora tātou katoa. Great to take a call on education, because I don't believe that there is anyone in the Education and Science Select Committee who is not interested and concerned about aspects of education. And often the public says to us, why don't you all put aside your differences and just work together? But I think listening to the debate tonight, there's some underlying themes that make it clear why we don't always agree. And one of those is what the pedagogical vision of what education is for. And I think we've heard very strongly from the government that they are aspirational in their terms for education, and that the purpose of education is to serve the economy. But that's not the view of the Green Party. The Green Party believes that education is a whole lot more than serving the economy, and in fact the economy should serve its people. And education is about lifelong learning for all people. And it's not about, with due respect to the chair of the Science and Education Select Committee, getting them into education earlier for longer. It's actually about acknowledging that education needs to be quality, and that the goal of education is equity. That's a very different pedagogical goal, and that's why we have problems with the government's obsession with targets and assessment, which is an educational model that is reductionist and unsuccessful in other countries. But the current education estimates and the Minister at the Select Committee was all about targets, targets, targets. Now, why is that a problem? It's a problem because in early childhood, they may be about to reach 96 to 98% participation. But when I asked the Chief Executive of the Ministry about quality, he said, that will come later. We're going to get participation first, and then we'll find a way to figure out, basically, how to improve quality. So what, in fact, we've got is a huge push, including through the work and income system, to make parents place their children under the age of 5 into early childhood, but quality's not yet been sorted out, people. So how comfortable do we feel about making sure that our little children are all getting a brilliant start in life when there is no commitment to quality? And therefore, we have got the whole spectrum in early childhood, from the absolutely inspiring and wonderful, often smaller in number, high ratio early trained teacher centres, plus the Kohanga and Play Centre, where they have succeeded in holding on to fantastic whānau engagement, which is increasingly hard in this economy. And then we've got the opposite, which is basically baby barns, where people who don't have a choice because they have no public transport and no resources are forced to use the baby barn down the road, the large franchise, the commercial model. And so the education sector is torn between a genuine commitment to learning because it enhances our humanity as well as our society, as well as our economy, and making sure we meet targets. And this government has pushed this right through to national standards and through to NCEA. So national standards, again, another one of those measurables, which actually doesn't deal with the unmeasurable, which is children, because children learn it all at different rates. And so we have this system with NCEA as well, where we're claiming going to get to the target of 80% achieving level 2. But again, questions being asked by academics, have we lowered standards in order to meet the target? What is the real quality of what's happening in our secondary schools? So if we're concerned about public quality education, it's not enough to spout the numbers and talk the rhetoric. It is absolutely not enough. We actually have to know whether early childhood is quality, because the most important years that we pay lip service to is our small children. We have to know that kids are getting lunch as well as breakfast, which is where the Green Party has stood strong on feeding children properly, and not saying that if charities and the government want to have a bit of a partnership and have breakfast, that's okay, they don't need lunch. Well, of course, if we lifted wages and had a decent economy, then the parents could afford it. But right now, as was shown in the House today in our question on inequality, we have a long way to go on that, so we still need to feed our children in schools. And that's why we need a decent school lunch program. And honestly, there are some inspiring programs that schools are leading, but they're paying for it themselves in many instances. Sometimes teachers are paying for it, sometimes communities have stepped up, but there's no consistency, and there is a real need for a decent state-supported lunch program that is flexible and school and community-led.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.